drug or alcohol addiction. Both of those, or individually, can serve as a reason to have the IRS penalties removed so you don't have to pay them. That's critical. Now, in our fact situation that I provide to you in our materials, you'll see that I talk about a fellow who had been on time with his tax payment and tax filing returns. And then he became injured, and he wasn't able to live up to those responsibilities. And during the time that he was injured, he received medical treatment that included particular drugs, and he became addicted to those drugs. And he was addicted for a long time. He was addicted in our particular hypothetical for 4 years. And here's the thing. His addiction is a medical condition, and his medical condition will constitute what is referred to as reasonable cause. And reasonable cause is a justification for not requiring a taxpayer to have to pay penalties to the IRS. In other words, it's something that was out of his control. Just as we had a previous example where a heart attack or a cancer or a personal injury was in and of itself sufficient to establish reasonable cause, so is drug or alcohol addiction. Now, during the period of time that one is addicted, then tax returns are not filed and taxes are not timely paid. Eventually, the IRS recalculates everything and makes a determination how much the penalty should be applied, and also the interest on that for all the periods of time that are involved, all the years that are involved. And so, as you can see, the penalties alone can be huge, and certainly the interest continues to amount. And when you look at the sum of those two things, when a person is trying to regain his or her life, having to pay those additional penalties is something that many of them just can't psychologically deal with. And it could be a reason for somebody to fall back into the bad ways. So if you consider these situations, the idea is for the taxpayer who did have an addiction problem to move forward and to regain his or her life. And relief from the penalties is a way to do that. However, the taxpayer has to make the request that the penalties be removed. And again, this is the theme throughout Digital Tax Attorney, because the IRS will not do this for you. There's nobody in the IRS that's going to review your records and make the effort to connect your medical condition with a request to abate. You have to initiate that on your own. You have to catch up, you have to file your tax returns as delinquent as they are, and then you have to pay attention to the penalties that are assessed and the taxes that are owed. You're still going to owe the taxes. But this topic is about having the additional penalties and the interest removed. You can turn to another Digital Tax Attorney set to determine whether or not you can seek relief of the taxes and having the responsibility to pay them. Okay? The key is, once a person obtains a transcript, and you need to read and understand what the transcripts are, you will see penalties are applied for each period. And reasonable cause gives you an opportunity to ask for the abatement, the removal, that's what abatement means, of the penalties for each of those years. So if it's a 4-year period of time, you can request a 4-year period abatement. If it's 5 or 3, whatever it is, reasonable cause can exist. In other words, you can have a valid excuse for each of those years. And understand this too, you may only have reasonable cause for some of the years, but not all of the years. Well, heck, Challenge the years and ask for an abatement for the years for which you have reasonable cause. What you pay digital tax attorney will pay for itself in and of themselves, just for those years. And we've seen it. We've seen it many, many times. Penalties and interests are onerous, and they genuinely continue to add up and oppress taxpayers. So even if you cannot succeed with 100% abatement, succeed with what it is that your circumstances and your facts support, you're still going to come out ahead. Thank you.